and does not necessarily represent the views, opinions, or endorsements of Signal Hill Media Partners, its affiliate stations, or its advertisers. Welcome to Taking Care of NC, the program dedicated to exploring the issues, opportunities, and challenges shaping the great state of North Carolina. Join your host, Representative Jeff McNeely, as he delves into meaningful discussions about politics, community initiatives, and the people working to make a difference. Whether it's tackling local concerns, highlighting state achievements, or addressing pressing legislative matters, this show is your go-to source for understanding how North Carolina is growing and thriving. Stay tuned as we kick off another insightful episode of Taking Care of NC.
Good morning, North Carolina. Hope everybody's doing well out there. It's a little hot, but, that's the way it's supposed to be here. Got July the 6th, so I hope everybody had a great July the 4th. Let me turn this thing down here a little bit so we don't get in there. All right, get everything set up here. You got 250th birthday of our country. A lot of fireworks were shot off this year, folks. I swear I thought if we could have just dumped them maybe over on Iran, the conflict would be done by now, because we'd blow up everything. And the rain hit up in Washington, D.C., which put a little bit of a damper on the festivities that they had planned, but yet they went on. I stayed up and I called my president about 11:15, and so the fireworks went off. So I hope everybody maybe got a chance to see that. I know it's hard to do that and get up the next morning and get to church, but the show will go on, so that was great. Got Representative Kyle Hall's going to call in here probably a little bit. On the line already? We done got him. All right, we're going to go ahead and bring our guest in. Kyle is a senior approach sheriff. Brother Kyle Hall, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I got you, brother. I got you. How are you?
I can't complain. How are you?
I'm doing good, doing good. Do you feel like you've had a weight lifted off of your shoulders now that the budget's kind of done and you get to go home for a little bit and get out around it?
It is kind of a weird feeling, because you get trapped in a windowless room for weeks and months at a time. And so this week, I kind of feel like Ricky Bobby. I don't know what to do with my hands now.
I hear
so
you.
now I get to be at home back in beautiful Stokes County and try to get some real work done here.
There you go. Try to make a little money. Because you're unfortunately getting paid the same thing I am, which is not too much, but you put in a lot of time and a lot of effort. I want to say thank you. Thank you to all the senior approach chairs and approach chairs that I know. I mean, this has been going on forever.
It has, and I will say that we've got a great team in the House and, quite frankly, in the Senate on the approach side. We do work very well together. On the House side, you've got me, Donnie Lambeth out of Forsyth County, Dean Arp out of Union County, Larry Strickland out of Johnston County, and then, of course, Aaron Perret out of Wake, Hugh Blackwell and Burke, and William Brisson out in Bladen County. And our Senate chairs, sometimes we squabble with them, but I think for the most part, even though sometimes, as a matter of fact, there was a story I have about 3 years ago when we were working on the budget where Senator Brett Jackson and I literally got to a shouting match, but then when we got down into the hallway, we were just joking up and friends again. We have a good team, and even though the media likes to say that sometimes Republicans are dysfunctional, we're just like any old family. We have our little squabbles, but at the end of the day, we still love each other.
That's right. Well, hey, before we get into this, tell us a little bit about who Kyle Hall is, because you're a young man, in my opinion, being an old snot like I am. So tell us a little bit about who you are, what got you into the General Assembly, and just anything you'd like to share with us so we can kind of get to know who Kyle, because I don't think I've had you on the show, or have I? Have I had you on the show before, Kyle? I can't remember.
No, this is the first time.
You'll be a celebrity now.
Until now.
Yeah. You'll be a celebrity now, so I've made you famous. Just remember that.
I'm sure. I've got Fox News streaming right now. I'm surprised it's not a breaking news alert already.
It's coming. Go ahead. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I'm born and raised in Stokes County, just outside Winston-Salem, in a small town called King. About 8,000 people now live here. graduated from UNC Chapel Hill. I know that you're a big fan of Carolina.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I graduated from there in 2012. When I first I went to college with a political science degree, not thinking that I would be an elected official. I just wanted to be kind of on the sideline. So I worked at Americans for Prosperity first as their Western North Carolina field director, and then that led to another job as a research assistant, ironically, for the state Senate appropriations chair at that time, Neil Hunt, out of Wake County. Then he didn't run for re-election, so I moved back home to King and ended up working as a communications director for Congressman Mark Walker and working out of his Greensboro office, just driving 45 minutes to get to his office every day. And then, lo and behold, the state house member before me decided to resign, and the first person actually that approached me about seeking the appointment was my sheriff at the time, Mike Marshall, out of Stokes County, saying you should run for it. And I do remember the two words I said to him were "heck no," that I wasn't going to do that, because having been a research assistant before, I knew that how much time you consume with the job and how you get paid $13,000 a year. And it's not like I come from any sort of generational wealth over here. My parents were both public school teachers, and I was making about $52,000 a year working for Mark Walker, and I thought that was pretty good money.
Oh, yeah.
And didn't want to throw that away. But then, a couple county commissioners had reached out to me, and I'm like you, Jeff. I do believe in divine interference every once in a while in your life, and I thought that God had opened the door so much, and he's saying, you're an idiot if you don't pursue this. And so I pursued it, and then I got appointed through that process, which, in the legislature, when there's a vacancy, and this, Jeff, that the party that holds that seat, they nominate somebody, and the governor has to pick that person.
Yep.
And so I was appointed by Governor McCrory, and then literally 2 weeks later was filing for the 2016 election. So it was like Forrest Gump running cross country. I thought, well, I've already come this far, might as well keep going.
That's right.
And so I filed, and then in 2016 ran in a primary against two guys and made it successfully out of there, and then had a Democrat in 2016 and then won my first official term then. And I guess technically my freshman class, there's not many of us left, but they have some no names in there, like Speaker Destin Hall, and Majority Leader Brendan Jones, and Health Chair Donna White. I think we're the only ones left in that class because, as you know, we've got a lot of turnover in the legislature because of, quite frankly, how grueling it is. But the pay, I think, has to do a lot with it. But then redistricting every 2 weeks, it seems like, doesn't help matters, and or at least it didn't. So it's been a good ride, but now I've been there for this November will be 11 years for me, and being a senior appropriations chair is indeed quite an honor, because I get to sit in that room, even though it's painful at times, sitting in that windowless room, the legislative office building. It's good to work on a budget, and it's been. I will say that this year we've got a really, really good budget. And, the Democrats on the floor, they kept talking about, well, was the wait worth it? Was it worth it? And I do think at the end of the day, it was worth it. Because had we taken some of the Senate positions of last year, we wouldn't have had quite as good a budget as we do now.
Hey, this is, I'm trying to think, I guess this is maybe my third budget, I guess maybe fourth to a point, if you want to count mini budgets. By far, I think the best one we've done. Now, is it perfect? No. Did everybody get candy and knock a lump of coal here or there? Yeah, there's always something that's left out, done, whatever. But I think we did everything that we possibly could do as far as our fiscal, and not a whole lot of policy in it that had a lot of poison pills. So that part I like. Let's talk a little bit about last year, because this thing, it's a year overdue. It was a year overdue, and it just got to such contentiousness. And I know you were in the room and you saw a lot more than I did. I caught more secondhand, but there was just no negotiation last year. It was just a take it or leave it. It seemed like to me. You tell me.
It was. I think the Senate, quite frankly, was trying to take advantage of a brand new speaker, and they thought that they could, and the simple fact of the matter is they couldn't. I'll give Speaker Hall a lot of credit for his leadership style, and nothing against Speaker Moore before him, but Speaker Moore and Speaker Hall do have different, I would say, negotiating styles. I think Speaker Moore was very quick to get a deal done.
Yeah. And
sometimes that would be good for the House. Sometimes it wouldn't be good for the House. I think for Destin, he's fighting for the House, and he's got a spine of steel, I think, because he stood up to Senator Berger, and said that the House is not going to go along with these games. And I guess you do have the bad headlines that we did leave for a year without a budget. But again, the product today is a lot better than the product would have been had we just caved to some of the Senate position, because we had to change some of this tax code stuff. Something that us House chairs on the finance side saw the fiscal cliff coming. The good thing is that North Carolina is growing. People are wanting to move here because we've got a great business climate. We've got a great education system here, and we are an affordable state to live in. And the problem with the tax code before was that it was going to drive us into a fiscal cliff, because the population and the revenue just, quite frankly, weren't going to meet very well. And I don't know where you could find, if we had kept this tax package the way it was, we would have been having to find $3 billion worth of savings, recurring savings. And I don't know how you do that without gutting literally everything from firing teachers and state employees to closing down community college campuses or UNC campuses. And these are very, very unpopular, and rightfully so, unpopular decisions. And we just didn't want to do that in the House. And on top of that, they wanted to spend some non-recurring money, but a lot of non-recurring money on pet projects, like the UNC Duke Children's Hospital and Apex. Apex is one of North Carolina's most affluent places to live. Wake County is one of the richest counties in North Carolina, and UNC Health and Duke Health both have significant fund balances, and they could fund a children's hospital if they wanted to. And the state taxpayers, in our opinion in the House, shouldn't be footing the bill for that. And that was part of the problem last year, too, is that the Senate plan was to spend nearly $1 billion of non-recurring money to build this hospital. And again, the richest county in North Carolina. And while we've got hospitals in Iredell County and Stokes County and all across rural North Carolina that need some help too. In fact, back in the fall, I went and toured with ECU Health down to Greenville. Obviously, the hospital in Greenville is a pretty nice facility, but then you go out to, and they took me to the hospital in Beaufort, North Carolina, a really small town.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Beaufort County in Washington, Little Washington, North Carolina. And it's a hospital in really bad shape. One of those hospitals that was built right after World War II, needs an upfit. And then you go to Martin County, very, very small rural county, whose hospital is gone. It closed down, and they have nothing. They have no ER, they have no urgent care, nothing. And how is Martin County supposed to compete with other counties when you don't even have basic health care?
That's right.
And so we're going to spend $1 billion again in the richest county in North Carolina, while we've got counties like Martin County that don't even have access to health care. It just was mind-boggling. And so, again, back to Destin Hall and his spine of steel to stand up to that and say, no, we're not doing that, has led us to this year, I think, creating one of the best budgets that I've ever experienced as an appropriations chair.
Well, and so we had that last year thrown at us. All of a sudden, here's this, pretty much $900 million we knew it was going to be. Let's call it $1 billion hospital, and we've got children's hospitals already in the state. We don't have to go build another building. There's things that could be done, and even if we built that hospital, there's still probably 100 kids or more that have such acute diseases, issues, whatever. They're going to have to go somewhere else, because there's a guy somewhere or a lady somewhere that is the best there is. We're not going to get all that here in North Carolina, even if we build this hospital like they want. So it was just kind of crazy. So that's last year. So let's fast forward to this year. 2 weeks ago on that Friday, we pretty much got the budget done. And then by Monday morning, 5 new initiatives come over from the daggum Senate. And one of them's a $750 million baseball stadium. Tell us a little bit about all that going on, because we thought we had it done and things were wrapping up, and then all of a sudden, heck no.
Yeah. Well, and I will say about MLB, obviously, if anybody follows the MLB, you know that they're trying to expand somewhere, and Raleigh, Charlotte, and Nashville look like the three favorites. And so this has been a talk kind of behind the scenes for probably over a year at this point. But the Senate decided at the very last second of this process to make it more public with some of their ideas to spend, like you said, nearly $600-700 million to lure them over here. And it just was a bad deal. They didn't really propose anything in writing until the very last second of the budget process. And once you looked at it, it was going to spend about $30 million recurring, and also every year on the baseball stadium. And on top of that, raise occupancy taxes to pay for it. It just needs some time. And it's not necessarily that either the House or the Senate is against MLB coming to Raleigh. No. I would love for them to come to Raleigh.
Somebody pay for it? I'll go watch it.
Sure. And that was the House proposal. Our proposal back to them was, let's set up a commission to go ahead and just look at the issue of MLB, what the state may or may not do to get them here. Because, in business, you don't want to show all your cards. Right. You don't want to go out there. We would be the first state, or if you want to say Raleigh, the first city, to come out there showing, hey, we're going to spend X amount of dollars to get you here. Well, what does that do for Nashville? Then they say, you know what, I'm going to up it. I'm going to go to $800 million. Yeah. I mean, that's just basic common sense. You don't want to show all your cards. And so the House proposal was, let's set up this commission. Let's show the MLB that we are serious, that we would like for you to be here, because it could be a good thing. And I think it would be for the MLB to come to Raleigh. The tax dollars associated with the ticket sales and, souvenir sales. I mean, you see what happened this year with the Carolina Hurricanes. With them winning the Stanley Cup, how much of a boom that was to Wake County and to North Carolina as a whole.
Yeah, I mean, I love baseball. I just feel like we got two billionaires, and if Mecklenburg wants to figure it out, then they ought to figure it out. If Wake wants to figure it out, they ought to figure it out. I don't think we need to be playing winners and losers with the state money, and that's the problem I had. Put the proposal forth. We'll talk at each place. We'll figure it out. We'll see what we can do to allow y'all to the occupancy tax, sales tax, whatever you want to charge, whatever. But let it be driven from where it is. Don't make the poor guy that lives up in Murphy, his tax dollars go toward, or the cat out in Manio that's doing the commercial shrimping. Yeah, bad thing to bring up. Him pay for it, maybe never go. I feel like it's got to come more from an organic, in my opinion. Right. So I just don't see where we're in it like they wanted to be at that kind of cost. And to do, and it's not even necessary right now. We're going to start working on another budget in 6 months. We've got time. We've got time. Let's take that time. So we finally got all that aired out. I think they did get one of their 5 late initiatives out of 5 they got one. But thank God we kind of tamped all that down and said, no, we're just not going there. And to me, the House, the Senate loves to tell us, and I'm sure probably some of them maybe even listen, they love to tell us how we'll spend and we'll do this. This time, I felt like we were the ones that were putting the physical restraint on, not them. It seemed like they were wanting to spend on this, that, and the other on non-reoccurring all over the place. And we finally just said, no, we got to stop. And so, right. Thank goodness y'all worked that out and got it done, and that was a huge win, I think, for the taxpayers of North Carolina, because that's going to allow us to make sure we are solvent as we start decreasing the tax. So let's, we got a little bit here. We got about another 8-9 minutes. Let's jump into the budget kind of and talk about the good things. Now there'll be people that'll bring up, oh, this is this and then that, but on average, we're looking at 8% teacher raises. That's pretty stout. That's by far more than we've done, and I can't remember. I'd think at least 20 years, maybe longer than that, tell you the truth.
And it is. It's the largest teacher pay raise in 20 years. Ironically, it was 20 years ago the Carolina Hurricanes last won the Stanley Cup. And so I guess for teachers, if you want another significant raise, maybe the Carolina Hurricanes need to bring one home next year too.
That's right. Keep moving.
Yeah, all jokes aside, I mean, it's an average 8% raise for teachers. It's a good budget. It gets our starting teacher pay to a $48,000 base pay. By the time you add in the local supplements, the starting teacher pay will get to about $54,000 a year in North Carolina. So that makes us number one in the South and in the Southeast is starting teacher pay. And I think that's huge, because I've got a border county here at Stokes. We border Virginia, and it's very easy for us to lose teachers to Virginia, just like in Mecklenburg or Union County to lose teachers to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And so just keeping these starting teachers here is a good thing. And on top of all that, we give them one-time bonuses, $500 for teachers from 0 to 15 years and $1,000 for teachers 16 years or more. And so on average, teachers with 25 or more years of experience will earn about $73,000 a year. Now, can we do more? Sure. But it's just, we've got to be gradual about these teacher pay raises. And then state employees, 3% across the board for them. And on top of that, they get a bonus too. If they make less than $65,000 a year, they get $1,750 at a bonus. If they earn more than $65,000 a year, they get a $1,000 bonus. Our law enforcement, we took care of them in this budget pretty well. About an 18% average raise for our state highway patrol, about a 20% average raise for our SBI, and then a minimum 13% across the board for our state law enforcement and correctional officers at the Department of Adult Corrections. So, I mean, it's a very solid salary package that, if we had passed a budget haphazardly last year, we wouldn't have been able to do these historic raises like we're doing this year.
Oh, I know. And I don't think a lot of people realize, I think we're almost at a 30% unemployment rate at our correctional facilities. So we're almost we're almost a third down of what we really need for a good, safe working environment for our correctional officers. We could not get people into these facilities. I mean, it just wasn't happening. So this is going to put us up where we can compete with the private sector better. Hopefully we'll fill some of these positions, I pray.
Right. And then let's also add on top of that we're doing all this spending while still cutting taxes. And I think that's a good thing. It shows the fiscal restraint that we've had and that we're willing, when we're collecting a lot of money, that we're willing to give it back to the taxpayers. And so, like I mentioned earlier, we had the revenue triggers that was creating a $3 billion hole with this revised personal income tax rate where we've got it set in statute now for certain years. Instead of doing this trigger nonsense with revenue numbers and all that, it's just already set in statute where the personal income tax rates are. So, for instance, in 27-29, our tax rate will go to 3.49. In 2030, 2032, it'll go down again to 3.24. And then in 2033, 2034, we get it down again to a 2.99% rate. And so that shows our commitment at the General Assembly. As a matter of fact, I'll just say that on behalf of the Republican General Assembly, that we are maintaining our commitment to lowering the tax rate, because that's what's driving people here. It's because we have are affordable. We're not taxing the crap out of you. And we've got great services too. We've got a great K-12 university community college system. We've got great roads. And we're doing everything we can to make our business climate better and better every day.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people, come this fall, there's going to be a constitutional amendment that will cap the state personal income tax at 3.49. And they'll have a chance to vote if they want to make that the most that their state tax can be. It'll be codified into our Constitution. And I think that's huge. I think that's huge because that lets them know that not only this is what I'm going to pay the max for the rest of my life here in North Carolina, but my children and so forth. So I think that's huge. And the Democrats screamed about that one. They hated that worse than anything because they don't know how if they'd ever get back to the majority, they don't know how they're going to run a government like that. They can't figure it out. That's what they basically said that day. So I think that's huge.
Yeah. And on top of that, too, we've got the constitutional amendment about the property taxes, which are set at the county and city level. And I know that you get the same emails I do. I don't think most people even, people do complain about the state income tax rate, but not near as much as they do about their property tax bill. And when they get that sticker shock, when they get that letter from the county tax office and this, their property value has gone up 100, 200%, and so has their tax bill. And so we've got some counties. Not every county is bad. Stokes County, I would say, is living within its means. But then you have counties like Mecklenburg and Wake that are just taxing way above inflation and population. Guilford County, too.
Guilford's lost their mind, and Forsyth's trying to figure out what to do because of the school system. So both of them are just chomping at the bit to get every dime they can from everybody. Just take them to the cleaners.
Right. And so I imagine that constitutional amendment, if it gets on the ballot, it's going to be a pretty popular constitutional amendment because that's the one tax that people have the most frustration with, and rightfully so.
Yeah. Well, the thing about it is it's basically passive income. Until you sell the house, you don't really receive that value, but yet you're paying taxes on it irregardless. And so that's the tough part. It ain't that I made a profit and I've got this money to pay. No, I'm having to figure out where I'm going to get it from the rest of my income. That's where it gets tough.
Right.
And one thing I want to really compliment y'all on is I felt like in some of the last couple budgets that our number one industry in the state, which I'm tied to severely, and I'm glad I am, agriculture, seems like it kind of didn't get the love that I wish it would. But this time, we got some love in it, and I appreciate it. A huge step up, $54 million for farmland preservation. And that's critical at a time when we're just losing land at a record pace, especially here in Iredell. We're number 2 in the state as far as farmland disappearance. Union's number 1, we're number 2. But I'm seeing it all over western North Carolina. Now, eastern North Carolina, not near the pressure. Western North Carolina, there's constantly housing development, popping up. New schools being built. All that drives the property tax. So if we can keep people farming, then, maybe we can control this growth a little bit until we can get a handle on it. I feel like we're just reacting instead of planning. And that's not how you run a business. That's not how you run a government, which should be like a business. So thank you for that. That was huge in getting that money in there for farmland preservation. That's I think the most we've done in any budget was $20 million over 2 years. So this is by far like double more than we've ever had. So thank you so much.
Yeah, I think this gets it to the highest level that program's ever been.
Oh yeah, by far. Now, one other thing too, and I swear we're about out of time, but I wanted to make sure we get it in. More funding for Helene. We haven't forgot these people in western North Carolina. So I think it's about $750 million more dollars we're going to do. And I know they want billions, and if we can get it, we'd give it. And hopefully the federal government's going to keep helping us too. But we're not done there. We won't be done there for a long, long time.
Right. And I toured the image of Helene the week after it happened with Commissioner Troxler, and And trust me, your state government has not forgotten Western North Carolina. After what I saw, I mean, it was like you entered in a war zone. And I, definitely keep Western North Carolina in your prayers, because this is going to be years and decades before we get Western North Carolina back to normal, because it was just such a catastrophic event. And like you said, we're spending quite a bit of money in this budget again on Hurricane Helene relief, because it's needed. And your General Assembly, your legislators definitely hear your concerns.
Well, I tell you what, we got to the 11:30 mark here of the show. Kyle, I appreciate you calling in, and I appreciate all the hard work you put in on the budget. All y'all, for some reason or other, I'm working real hard to hopefully maybe fill an appropriation chair spot sometime. Don't know why I want that kind of work, but I do. And so I look at y'all and just think about how hard you work and all that you put in, and just appreciate it. And this has gone above and beyond. And folks, just know, here in about 6 months, a lot of us are going to start trying to do another budget. So it ain't going to be long to we're right back in there and right back at it.
Well, that's right. But yeah, thank you for letting me come on here and talk a little bit about it.
All right. Make sure you send me my part of the royalties for your fame now that you have after being on, taking care of NC.
I've kept Fox News on. I haven't gotten that breaking news thing, but it seems like they're on a court case right now. And now Harris Faulkner's coming out, so maybe Harris Faulkner will talk about it.
They'll catch you right around lunchtime. They usually let me get completely done. Hey, I appreciate you, brother. Good talking with you. You take care.
Same here.
See you, man.
See you too. See ya.
All right, folks, we're going to take a little break here and get some commercials in, and we're going to come back for the second half of the show.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Hear that? That's the sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, the music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First, drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips. Because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topics shaping North Carolina.
All right. We got a little ahead of ourselves. We're not done yet. So, all right, got the second half of the show here. If anybody'd like to call in, 704-873-9929. You know how the game works, folks. Y'all get it. Let me get back on Facebook here, messing around with something else. A couple things more I wanted to put in. Like I said, glad the budget's, we got it finally done. I know a lot of other people are too. A lot of people have been looking for this, especially if you're involved in the education side of things. One thing we did do too also on child care, which plays along with our school systems. They actually help do stuff for our younger children, 2, 3, and 4. I think they do have to be potty trained maybe. We increased the child care subsidy market rates to about 75 percentile, which is better than the 50 we were at. And that's from the 2023 Child Care Market Rate Study. And so that's also for center-based and home-based care. So we're going to raise that rate. I know Iredell Statesville Schools was about 300,000 upside down. And so actually me and Todd, Vicky, Mitchell Setzer, that's what we call Team Iredell, we actually put 200,000 in of our own walking around money. If we get it, don't know if we are or not. And then once we get that part done, it'll probably be the last of the month. I'll kind of let you know what we were able to do, throw a little money here, there, and whatever, a lot of our nonprofits and stuff. But we put 200,000 in there trying to make sure that the child care got funded at a level where they're not losing money. So I thought that was really important. One thing, too, talking a little bit about transportation, I play in that being a chair along with Ag. Going to have $5.15 billion coming in. A lot of that is through your gas taxes and whatnot, but we still got to put it in place. Some of the things that we did do with the budget, spending about $5 million to raise driver license, examiner pay, increasing starting salary. So we're going to get more people maybe in that job. It's been hard to get those filled, folks. It's been hard to get a lot of things done. State, unfortunately, we don't move at a fast pace as far as raising like maybe some in the private sector do. Also, $3 million more on additional driver license and the ID card production capacity. So hopefully we'll get you in and out. I think one of the big things, too, we're spending money to extend weekday hours and year-round Saturday service at our busiest DMV offices. And we've also hired, more than this, but new operating 4 newly authorized driver's license offices. So we've actually increased our number of offices. One of the big things we do is put right at $1 billion into our road maintenance, and it had gotten just beat up because of a lien. You got to understand, a lot of money's come out of our highway funds to help fix the problems in western North Carolina, and they haven't been put back in. And Iredell County is in a huge division, and a lot of that division is west of us, and we're affected by a lien. And so a lot of our monies that we would normally do for repaving jobs and stuff have been kicked back because we had to spend the money to put roads down and put bridges back in place. So getting that $1 billion is going to help all the different divisions across the state, especially those like ours. And also got about $25 million in the safety project, spot safety program, which is going to help us. There's stuff out there that we haven't been able to do because of the lien again. You just don't understand the shuffling of money it took to get stuff moving this quick. And I know it ain't as quick as you want, but quicker than government usually moves. So we got that done. And so there's a lot of important stuff that actually you may not see in the budget, but it's there. Like I said, put in a bunch of 18 new assistant district attorney positions and some capital crime appeals attorneys in place. That was a requirement that Irina's law. And so we've done $30 million with school safety grants. So a lot of things that needed to be funded and weren't, but we finally got them in there. And is it perfect? No. Folks, there is no such thing as perfect. I don't care where, what, or who we do. But this is still possibly, I think, the best budget that I've seen us kick out. And it was a fight. It was every other year when we do the budget, it's one chamber or the other. So this past year, it actually in 25 started with the Senate. And we just could not do what the Senate first put forth in appropriations with the budget. And so that's where the fights began, and that's why it took so long. And I really do feel like the House, we held ground to get a better budget, to get these raises for our employees, to show them that we do appreciate them, and we do. And thank y'all if you work for the state in any way. Thank you for your hard work and for putting forth the effort while you waited on us to get through with this, because I know it's been tedious and it's had a lot of people anxious, and I get that. Anytime you start talking about people and their incomes, they seem to get a little nervous. I don't blame them one bit. So just want to go ahead and get all that out there. Like I said, if anybody wants to call in and talk, 704-873-9929. Also at foot right now, election bill. It's out there, probably get vetoed. I think it was sent to the governor also, probably get vetoed. One thing we did add, and I just want to put this on a personal note because I experienced and I spoke up about this and said, yeah, this is a good idea. I don't know if any of y'all been to the polls or not at certain different ones here, even in Iredell County. And, I like to think of going to vote kind of as a solemn experience. It's my duty as an American that I go and cast my vote, and I hope I'm an educated voter, and I realize who I'm casting my vote for and what they stand for. I suggest if you don't, you need to learn all these things before you put a check beside somebody's name that's going to actually be responsible for telling you the things that you'll need to do to keep our government moving forward. But one thing I did experience was DJs and loud music, like a party atmosphere at the polls. And this has been kind of a new game plan that's come up from the left, that if you make it fun and exciting, you'll want to come out and participate. I still think it's more of a patriotic duty than it is a hip-hop, but, that's where we're at. So this is actually going to curtail, because a lot of times the PA system, you couldn't talk to people at the polls that asked you questions. The music was so loud. And I thought it was almost comical. I was at one here this past in 24 where this was going on. And they were you saw a bunch of people out there. They were kind of dancing around and boogieing to this and that, but they really weren't talking to the voters. They were just in a good atmosphere, just hanging out, on the asphalt there. And I think that's really the time that you need to have people who are informed that can actually give true and educated opinions about different things that the voters may want to ask. I don't really think they care which rap song's on. I think they really want to know something else. All right, looks like we got a caller. Hey, this is Representative Jeff McNeely. Who do we got?
Jeff McNeely, how are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Who's this?
This is Mike.
Hey, Mike.
I had lost you for a long time. You used to be over on the other side, and we lost you. I finally found you again. It's good to hear you on the radio. And
glad you found me.
For what you do.
Thank you.
I just heard you talking about the money for the roads and whatnot in Western North Carolina, and I understand how all that works.
Yep.
But I kind of question why some of the roads are getting paved. If you take Mount Olive here in Statesville and Ebony Circle, these are two little dead-end roads that have very few houses on them, no potholes. The roads are in good shape, but they're marked to be paved, and they just done the road that I live on, and that road, don't get me wrong, I appreciate it being paved again, but the road was not horrible. It had very few holes in it. The shoulders were in good shape. It wasn't like they had been eroded out. There was, a few spots. There's always spots where people just seem to drive off. But, I don't know who looks over the roads and decides, this dead-end road needs to be paved with these 6 houses on it and has no potholes in it. Why are we spending that money on that when we could be putting it on Industrial Road up here in Statesville that has 12 million potholes and you jar every body part loose driving on it?
Well, let me ask you this. Those are in the city limits of Statesville, correct? I think.
No, the Ebony and Mount Olive are actually county, and I'm not. Okay. Industrial is a state road inside the city limits. Yes.
Yeah. Well, the city when the roads are inside the city, they get money. Actually, Powell bill money, they call it, Powell, to do the paving. So once it's in the city limits, even though it may be a North Carolina highway, they'll get subsidized by the state, but they're in charge of maintaining it once it leaves. So if it's in the county, all I can tell you is usually there's a set schedule. And it's so many years in between. And so they're going to pave, and I don't know how long it's been. I got a cough, excuse me. I don't know how long it's been since they have paved it, but there's a certain schedule, and once it hits a certain time period, they're going to pave unless they don't have the money. And if they don't have the money, they'll still be on the schedule, but they may bump it back anywhere from 3 to 5 years. So I'd have to take a look and see when the last time that was done and see if that's where it fell in the calendar, because I understand what you're saying. Hey, this one may be this, but it may have gotten repaved 5 years ago, and it's not scheduled to get done till such and such date, and they're not going to jump in ahead. They'll go fix some potholes, but they hold true to that paving schedule. Believe me, I've tried to get them to move off of it, and that's not happening. So that may be what we're seeing. I just have to look in on those streets and talk with my boys at DOT and see. I'll write a little note. So that's Ebony.
That makes sense, but
and Olive.
Ebony Circle and Mount Olive, and the one that just got paved was Pilch.
I know where it is.
Industrial here in town. Yeah, industrial here in town is right here off of Greenbrier. That road is horrible, and the intersection between, you have a city street, because industrial is city, Greenbrier is state. Nobody wants to fix the intersection there. The city did do a little bit of work on it. They've done a great job. But, you know, there's enough holes there that when you turn in, you try to pick and choose how slow can you go to not flip your car over going through the holes that's on this road.
Well, and I had the same thing. I got people hollering at me over Old Mountain Road because it had been a while. It actually got bumped 3 years back because of the lean, because it's a major road and it's pretty expensive to repave. And we're finally getting there. Finally got that done. So, but I have people raising Cain about it. So it falls into a certain calendar schedule, and they hold, you know, they're not going to do it before. They'll go fix a pothole. You got a pothole, let me know. I'll try to get them out there, and they'll do that. But they're not going to pave until it's that time. I mean, it's just that. And like I said, Helene took a bunch of divisional money from us. A bunch.
I understand how that works.
And I knew that Iredell County was going to struggle because I got us into the disaster. I'm trying to think of the word I'm trying to use here, but declaration. I got us into the disaster declaration because I knew we were going to catch a lot of stuff in the river over there and whatnot. But I did not push for us to try to get really any money in the Helene project because I'm just going to be honest with you, I don't have the heart.
Exactly. I understand.
There's people that I know that are desperate, still desperate in Western North Carolina, and just because it would mean my people might get a road paved or we might get this or that, I thought we could wait as compared to them. And so,
who do we need to vote out to get that schedule out?
Well, I don't know. I'm not your man, though. I'm not the one. I'm just teasing.
You give me the information. If it was you, you wouldn't give me the information.
I would if I thought it mattered. Do know this, that DOT does fall under the executive branch, which is where the governor's the head of. And I'll just leave it at that. You figure the rest of it out there. So we make recommendations. We make recommendations, and we help fund them, and we can control their funding, but we can't always tell them what to do. So unless we can hold them over the fire a little bit.
Oh, I appreciate your time, sir. Appreciate what you do.
Well, thank you, sir. All right, man. You be good.
Have a blessed day.
You too. Anyway, getting back real quick, try to finish that up. Got a lot going on here. But the loud music over the PAs, I don't see where that's necessary at the polls. To me, actually, most of these polling places are in communities. This one happened to be at a church. I feel like you're being a distraction and probably causing noise in a neighborhood that doesn't necessarily need it. Because I'm going to tell you, it was really loud. It was hard to talk to people. It was so loud. So that's going to stop. We're going to put a stop to that. We may have to go back and do a veto override, but we're going to. So now let's break over here. And if anybody else wants to give a call, love to hear from you. 704-873-9929. I'll try to answer the questions best I can, and I'll check on those roads. Right now, there's a little bit of a civil war kind of going on in California. Believe it or not, conflict in California. Wow. So the Service Employees International Union also has healthcare workers involved in it. So it's the SEIU, United Healthcare Workers West, is the name of that union in California. And they've kind of hijacked basically the citizen initiative process, which allows people to actually do a petition to put things on the ballot. And what they've been able to do is impose, they're going to put a 5% tax, it looks like, on a ballot measure in California on people with net worth of $1 billion or more. So they're going after the wealthy. And the problem is the state really didn't want to do it this way, but 90% of that, they think they'll raise about $100 billion. 90% of that will go to fund the health care programs that this union really wants and backs. And they're saying, they're doing this because of Medicaid cuts from the big, beautiful bill. But in actuality, they spent about $220 million more in California on Medicaid this past year than they did the year before, and they're projected to do about $138 billion. Don't get millions; these are billions. California does bigger numbers. So on next year Medicaid over what they spent on the raise of the 220. So, and only really lost about $32 billion of federal funding over that 2-year period. And so we got the governor, Gavin Newsom. Now he's getting a little worried that because of this initiative has been driven, that they're going to lose their billionaires and they're going to leave the state. And so he's trying to negotiate with this union. And there's a lot of irony to it. So, you know, the irony is that here all of a sudden Gavin Newsom is opposing a wealth tax after he talked about wanting to put one in place, but he wanted to use the money for something else, not for the health care initiatives. And I think this is going to end up driving more and more people out of California, especially the wealthy. And so we'll see what happens there. But I watch them. So now the California Teachers Association is also coming out against this proposed one because they want the money for education funding, not for health care funding. So everybody's fighting over this $100 billion that they're going to tax the wealthy with. And we'll see how this goes. And, you know, the old saying, once they get done getting all the money they can out of the billionaires, then they're going to go for the millionaires. And when that's done, they're coming for you and me, people. And that's the way it's going to be in California. But evidently, they've never seen a tax that they did not like out there. So I'm sure they'll keep taxing until they get what they want. Real quick here, got into this the other day, and it kind of bothered me once I read into it. So there is a looming Social Security problem with solvency in it, or insolvency, I should say. In 2024, they put forth a bill, and it kind of lingered and died, and it was restoring long-term sovereignty to Social Security. Now, know this, money has been borrowed from Social Security. Our federal government owes it. I guess when it goes completely out, they will come up with the money, they will print more, and then it will be worth less. And that's how inflation is done. So in this case here, it would take an increase of 3.33% payroll tax increase, or they would have to do around a 21% reduction in scheduled benefits. This was what was put forth in 2024. A year later in 25, it's gone up now, and they didn't do it. Kicked the can. So now, last year it was 3.65. Now it's going to be 4.25. And that's on both sides of the equation on the Social Security. So you got to look at this, or a 25, because we're weighted today right now. If to make it solvent, we either going to have to put forth that tax increase on your wages of 4.25% more than we've been doing, or reduce the benefits 25%. And now this is trying to make it long-term solvency. Right now, it looks like by 2034, there's a really, really good chance that it will be insolvent unless the federal government starts pumping money into it. And the sad part about this, folks, is people have paid in. This is not government money. This is our money that we have paid in, and they have done a really bad job of taking care of it. I know everybody's going to say, well, let's kick out the Republicans because they're in charge right now and it's their fault. No. This has been going on for a while. And the largest deductions, or not, shouldn't say deductions, but borrowing from it came during the Obama administration. That's when we first decided, and Miss Nancy Pelosi was our House Speaker then. That's when they really first decided, hey, we can actually borrow a lot of money. There's a bunch of money laying over there, and it really don't need to be there. We can take it and we can spend it, and we'll put it back when the time comes. I'll be curious to see, because the time has come now. 2034 is not that far from here. Something has to happen. And we've also got the interest debt looming out there, and they're saying by 2038, it will become our largest expenditure, which really dumbfounds me the way I see Medicaid, not Medicare, Medicaid increasing exponentially every year, maybe every second. So we got expenses we're pulling out from everywhere. We've got to decide, when are we going to go about doing something about this? 2034, that's not that far from here, folks. That's not that far. So we're talking 8 years. We've got to do something. I'll be curious to see if anybody's got enough guts to do it, because that'll be raising taxes. But we've got to do something to make sure it's there, or change the whole plan around. I'm not sure what. And I think maybe we've done road too far. All right, real quick. I got kind of funny in this. I've had a lot of people reach out to me and talk to me about this. So let's talk a little bit about the Great American State Fair in D.C. So our beloved Governor Josh Stein, he decided that North Carolina didn't want to participate. It was going to be too partisan and too much politics. Wouldn't want to give Trump any kind of credit for anything, since his committee's the one that put this together. So we decided not to go to the Great American State Fair in D.C., which is held there in all the different states. And we're not the only one. I think it ended up being about 8 of them total. Pennsylvania was another one, Democratic governor there. I just want everybody to know, we put money into funding the 250th celebration from the last year in an appropriations bill. Money was given to the executive branch, our governor, to spend on stuff to do for the 250th anniversary. He chose not to participate, and he's saying it was money, and that's a lie. He actually did participate. He did this. He did probably the display that should have been in D.C. in Raleigh this past week. That's where he spent the money in Raleigh. So all those people that went to D.C. from all these other states, they really probably didn't get to see what North Carolina necessarily about. I do appreciate the private businesses out there that went together and put stuff in our display up there. So we actually had something. Mount Olive Pickles, Richard Childress Racing, a couple other different companies went in, spent their own money, time, and everything. I appreciate them. Then in the scuttlebutt of it all, somewhere or another, a flag appears on a video screen that has never been concocted in any time other than at flea markets that I've seen in my lifetime. It was not the Confederate flag that was flown in North Carolina. This is something concocted, come on that screen. And I'm going to tell you my personal opinion, from ones I've talked to a lot, we're not sure that it isn't sabotage. We're thinking somebody, because I can tell you right now, the groups that I know, if they had done it, they would have stepped up and said yes. They had laid claim to it. They wouldn't have been ashamed. So it's funny how nobody's taking credit for it. Nobody's saying a word. So I'm not sure this ain't the last way of biting back, because patriotic people in North Carolina decided to participate. But you know what? The state of North Carolina is great, and I hope everybody knows that all across this whole country. And I'm sorry we got a governor that chose to put politics over patriotism, and that's exactly what happened here. So, all right, we're getting down to the end. I always like to talk about the crazy as it gets stuff, and got a couple things here. Let me see if I can dig through my stuff here and grab it real quick. So, we've got a former Olympic canoeist. I know that's probably not the first Olympic event you think about, but decided he was going to damage the Lincoln Memorial reflecting pool that they just fixed and put the sealant down. He says that he saw a little piece and wanted a souvenir. According to the thing, he ripped up approximately a 2-foot square piece of sealant from the bottom of the pool, and people watched him do it, and it was very violent in the way that he had to rip it. Now, he's 67-year-old David Hearn, former canoe racer who competed in 3 Olympic Games. Right now, he is being held felony destruction of property over $1,000 in Superior Court in D.C., which would carry a sentence of 10 years in prison if convicted. My question is, why is anybody tearing off a little flake, as he says he did, of a reflecting pool liner? What souvenir is that? I tend to believe the witnesses who finally got him to stop, because he said he was using both hands to do it, and it was belligerent, rude, and disrespectful in his behavior, the witnesses described. He's trying to come up with a whole nother story, and I'm hoping he gets the 10 years in prison. This may be one of the craziest things that I've heard of in any time. And this is somebody you would think, being an Olympic athlete, would have some decorum. this is not your typical vandal, I don't think, but evidently he must have that Trump deranged syndrome, TDS, I guess. So, all right, we're getting down to the end, and I just want to do real quick. So the Trump card actually got played. Fleurin, I'm going to slaughter his name, Bogoma, I think that's right, our soccer player who got thrown out. Well, Trump decided to step in and see what he could do, and the FIFA ended up giving him basically a one-year appropriation instead of kicking him out of the game for Belgium, and now Belgium is furious. They think they ought to get a chance to appeal him being kicked out. So the official played the red card. He played the Trump card. Good for you, President. Anyway, folks, let's go ahead and say a prayer. We need it in this nation. Dear Heavenly Father, dear Lord, thank you for the 250 years that you've allowed this country to survive. You helped bring it about. You've helped keep it alive. You will continue, I pray, to bless us. So be with us, lead us and guide us, dear Lord, and please, God bless America. In Jesus Christ's name, amen. Folks, until next week, take care.
Thank you for tuning in to Taking Care of NC. We hope today's program offered valuable insight into the topics shaping North Carolina's future. Stay informed, stay engaged, and join us next time as we continue exploring the issues that matter most to our state. Until then, take care and thank you